You've had a couple of days, obviously, now to digest the weekend's game. Is there anything that you've kind of seen looking over it that didn't kind of jump out at you right away from the end of it?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I think we're still digesting that we didn't get the full 3 points, because I think it's a game that was under control for that. But then we reviewed the times we lost a little bit control, and when we dropped back, um, how it started to give more field to Toronto to operate. So we looked at that. We evaluated our numbers physically. It wasn't an easy game physically to deal with for both teams. We know it's also due to the weather. The other part that could we need work and we gonna improve there is when we have possession in the last in the opponent's half. I think we need more clarity on what we need to do in those areas of the field. So look, I think there was a lot of good things in the game, even some moments of transition that we just didn't take the right decision, or we give the ball too early, or we could have driven with the ball a little bit more. So there's a lot of things that we evaluate, and we felt that we feel there's still a lot of things to grow as a team. And but again, it's better to work that with the two results that we had than with two negative results.
Colorado coming up at the weekend. They've had a tough and interesting start to the season. They look dangerous at set pieces, but then so do yourselves. Is this where you feel the game may be won at the weekend?
It's going to be a very important part, Michael. A part that is going to need a lot of attention from us. Colorado is an experienced team. Colorado is a team that did well in the games that they played in last season and made the playoffs. They were already dangerous on set plays last season, so they're continuing in those moments. Colorado is a team that in transition are very dangerous with the type of players they have. The 3-1 against Austin is a very tricky result when you watch the game again. And we watched the game, Colorado and Austin, and we felt the result doesn't really reflect everything that happened in the game. But we have a group that is able to forget very quickly about yesterday and focus a lot on the game we have on Sunday. So again, we're preparing this game with very high levels of responsibility and awareness of the type of opponent. And it's the points are very close. We started with a win and a draw. They started with a draw and a loss, but at the end, only 3 points separate the two teams. So it's going to be, again, like every game that we see in our schedule. Every game is going to be difficult, and this is another one.
Just one more from me just now. What have you made of MLS, especially in the West, the first 2 weeks? There's been some interesting results, maybe surprises, but it certainly looks like teams like yourselves and the Galaxy that weren't in the playoff picture last year look to have strengthened, look to have got better. What have you made of the action so far?
I'm not going to give you my opinion on where I think the strengths are in MLS, because then I'm going to have a part of the league very upset at me. But right there with what I told you, you already know what I think. Uh, the games that we have are hard games. There's a lot of investment happening also in the West. Not only us, we became better, but everybody in our division became better. So it's hard, and you have to be ready for it. Um, Look, this is what I could tell you on what I felt about the games and how I feel. What I'm a little bit, what I question a little bit, and maybe what this is an opinion about how the league could be more West and including the West with the East. I don't like the format of only in the playoffs in your division, and then you play the West against the East in the final of the MLS Cup. I don't like that format. I think that they should be more mixed, like the number 2 of the East plays the number 7 of the West, and so on, and see how things pan out there. But look, we're in a tough division. We have a tough schedule. We're aware of that. That's why we take every game like a final, and we take it a game at a time.
Cheers, Mark.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. JJ, go ahead, please.
Hey, Mark, good to see you, sir.
Hi, how are you, JJ?
I'm good, thanks. You talked a couple weeks ago about how the newcomers would have to be fast-tracked in terms of their integration into the team. So with that in mind, how is Caio and Bruno looking in training? And sort of connected to that, how would Caio's insertion into the lineup sort of affect the midfield, and who would he potentially partner with?
They're still getting integrated, and I think Fast Track was already giving them minutes in Orlando. That was already fast tracking. We're still evaluating when's the best moment for them, because they come from far. Right now, they come from physically. We need to get them at the point that we feel comfortable and feel that they could be protected when it comes to risk of injury. So they're still in the process. I like the place where they are today. Caio could be used depending as a game in a 3-man midfield. That's not a place where we're gonna go a lot, because we believe in a very clear way of what we're building and how we're going about things. And then there's competition. Caio helps with that competition between Caio, between Baldi, between Genio, between Leo, between Rusty, between Pat. Like I said before, you don't have 11 guys. Sometimes you start the first training of the week, and one of the midfielders gets injured, and then you have to have another ready, or there's a red card in the game and you have to have another ready. Caio has to be ready to his full ability to be inserted in the lineup, and then with who he's gonna pair, it's going to depend of which midfielders are in the best moment, and everybody knows that here in the team.
And you just touched on it briefly before about the final third, or when you're in possession in the opposition half, and looking for some clarity. This has been a theme for a while, looking for creativity, clarity, decision making. How do you go about sort of fixing that problem? Is that a coaching? Is that or down to personnel?
No. Me, I don't think about personnel. I'm a coach, so I only have to think about coaching. And on that part of the field, I think that sometimes we're in position to put the cross in the box and we play back. We create superiority in wide areas, and then we were not decisive enough with the last pass or with the cross. Sometimes the two forwards show for the ball when one has to get in behind and the other one show. That's all related to coaching, and that's my job. Then, of course, there's pieces that you get that are faster taking decision in those moments. But right now, I feel that we have possession in the opponent's half in good portions of the game. Our fullbacks get very high in good portions of the game. But then once we get into some areas, we need to decide better on what we're going to do.
And last thing for me, just is there an update on Mr. Ali Adnan and Eric Godoy?
Eric and Toss, by the way, are training with the team already. So probably physically, of course, they don't have the soccer rhythm required. but it's good news that they're already starting to work and to train with the team. Ali, there's no update because it's a government thing, and the government doesn't tell you, oh, you should have it in 2 days or in 1 week. It's when the visa's in, it's in. And you guys are gonna all know when it's gonna be in. Right now, no visa yet.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the update.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, JJ. Alex, go ahead, please.
Hey, Mark. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, Alex.
Hey. First, I just wanted to ask you about, Michael Baldissimo, his role in particular, how he's been, coming deep between the center backs, and also against Toronto, how he's shifted out to kind of the left side of the center backs as well. Just kind of want to hear your thoughts on his role and how he's performed so far.
I don't want to tell you why he does that because I shouldn't, but there's a reason why he does it. I think Baldi since last year, he's grown a lot. I have one regret with Baldi is that I should have played him more in Orlando in MLS's back tournament. That's the only regret I have with Baldi. But then after Orlando, when he started to come in and to play, he started growing with every game. He's a midfielder that has a lot of range with his pass. He looks for the pass forward also a lot. There's still things he needs to be better with. His transition to defense, how he reacts after the possession and dealing with 1v1 situations. Baldi's could grow a lot with that, and that's what we're trying to work with him more. But I would tell you that he's in the right direction as a player, and he has potential to grow even more.
And maybe just kind of following up on another youngster, Theo Bear. He hasn't seen the field yet this season. Might he make his debut sometime this weekend? And if not, is there anything that you're looking for him to maybe get back?
Yeah, I'm looking for Theo to be much more competitive in the actions that he has, to use his body better. Theo knows the things that I want from him and what he needs to do to start getting on the field or get some opportunities. And Theo is still in a process of development, and we're evaluating where he's at every day. But Theo knows what we want more from him, and like all the other players, Theo is in the same boat. He needs to make sure that he shows every day in training that he deserves more. And until we don't see enough of that, Theo's gonna have to keep working. But again, like Theo or even other forwards, the problem in our team right now is called Lucas Cavallini, right? When Lucas is in a moment of form like that, it's more difficult to get in, and we didn't feel that we had to take Lucas off for any reason. Actually, Lucas was the player that set up very well Ryan Raposo in one of the last plays in the game, and it was in injury time the way he fought to get in front of the center back and then turn and then play the ball. So of course that when you compete with a player like Lucas, it's more difficult for you to get on the field also.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks, Alex. Gemma, go ahead, please.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. I've got my tiny assistant today, so I apologize if she interrupts.
No problem.
I wanted to build off what you were saying about Cava there and the form he's in. He talked at the very beginning of the season about trying to be more involved in the play and isolating himself less. Can you talk about how his game has grown from last season to this season?
I think that if the people that really paid attention to after the Canadian series, when we went to Portland, there was already a growth in the game of Lucas. He was scoring, he was participating, he was helping the team with and without the ball. Lucas had a very difficult 2020 where it was incredibly unstable, where he didn't go to Orlando to the MLS's back tournament, stayed away from the team for almost 2 months. And then it took time for him to get going. But I think he left over this year where he started in Portland last season. So again, it's a player that's adapting to the league. It's a new league for him. It's his second year, so he's going to keep growing. And I think that the partnership is also developing with Christian Elps. And yeah, that's what I think of Cava right now.
And on Colorado, this is a team you haven't played since 2019. So how do you go about preparing to face a team that's someone you haven't played against in such a long period of time?
Yeah, we haven't played them. They haven't played us. We were looking a lot at the details of their team. We're watching them the same way that they're watching us. And then, I think the first 15 minutes of the game are always going to be a little bit more tactical. Two teams may be afraid of or being more careful with doing mistakes. But then the game's going to settle the same way that we play any other opponent. We're going to prepare the game the same way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gemma. Max, go ahead, please.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Hey, Max.
I know it's out of the club's hands, but whenever Ali Adnan has his visa issues fixed and he gets back eventually in the lineup, what will your game plan be with Gutierrez? Will you move up Ali up in midfield like you have?
If Guti continues playing like this and growing, he's not gonna leave nowhere.
Yeah, that was just my question. Yeah, and I also have another one. And looking back last year, right before the pandemic hit us, the game that the Whitecaps were supposed to have was against Colorado, if I remember. Just looking back. Can I get your thoughts on how everything has changed and how crazy everything has been since then?
Hey, thanks for reminding me that. Now I'm scared about the week because I remember the day. It was a Thursday, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that we got the news about COVID and the game being canceled. We were, of course, in a good moment. We felt very confident with the win in LA against the Galaxy. And we were coming back to BC Place, and the group was confident. The group was motivated. The week of training was going well. And then that day, that changed pretty much the world, right? We live in a different sporting world, and I'm more focused on the Canadian teams because I coach a club in Canada, and it's very weird for me to look at games in MLS or to see the Miami game full of people or in Kansas City full of people, and I don't call that social distancing. So it's weird that we're in a league with so many teams, and every team seems to be in another, all different planets, and that's what changed the most for us. It changed that since then we lived in Orlando, we lived in Portland, now we live in Salt Lake. And for me, when people talk about home games, it actually makes me laugh. We're playing home against Colorado just because in the schedule a team has to play home, but it's not home. It's not home when you're not in your stadium with your fans, in your city, sleeping in your house. It's not home. So things have changed a lot. We have to build the mental toughness being a Canadian club more than anybody else. So that's what we embrace, because that's what we learned the most about in the last 18 months, is to be mentally tough, mentally ready, not cry about things, not having excuses. And that's where we learned the most. But it's been just incredible since that week against Colorado in 2020.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Thanks, Max. Michael, go ahead again.
Hey, Mark, just want to kind of go off on a little tangent here. Before I ask this, though, did you get a chance to watch Atlanta-Philadelphia last night in the Champions League?
Last night, I had to watch another game because of work.
Right.
I had much more interest in a Libertadores game than Atlanta-Philadelphia.
I can understand why. It was a good game. I wanted to ask you about Philly. Like, if you do get a chance to watch it, it was kind of almost a masterclass in how to play counter-attacking football. It's something that Jim Curtin's kind of set in with his team quite a bit. Is that a kind of model that you aspire this team to be in the games where you need to play counter-attacking? Is that a good kind of model for the club to kind of follow?
I watched their goals, and I thought the goal number 2 and 3 were phenomenal in the transition. Very, very good goals. What I aspire is that we're a team that when we have to be vertical in the transition moments, that we're able to do that with a lot of speed and quality. But there's moments in the game that you play a team like Portland, or you play a team that defends deeper and they eliminate the spacing behind them. Well, then you need to know to be a team that knows what to do. And if you focus on only being a team of transition, then when the opponent eliminates that transition because they defend deeper, then you don't know what to do. Of course, that as a coach, I want my team to be vertical. I want my team to go to goal as fast as possible. But there's moments in the game that's not there. And then the opponent eliminates the space in behind and they drop. And then you need to know what to do. And I think Philly, especially when they play home, they have a very good idea of what to do. But in transition, also based on the quality or the profile of the players they have, they could attack those areas very well.
And just one last thing, speaking to Jim Curtin after the game last night, we're talking about the referee, and he said something which I'd never really crossed my mind before, that he said that they tend to scout the referees before a game as much as the opponents, just to see when they give cards out, what you can get away with. Is that something that you guys do a lot of as well?
We do it also, yes. We know the ref is. We knew that the ref, Marufo, the last referee we got, is a ref that lets the game play a lot, doesn't like to call a lot of fouls, likes the play to go. And that's why maybe the call on Caio, that it wasn't a foul for him, when it was a foul in a yellow card at least. But we have a picture of the ref in our wall. Every week we change that picture, so we know who it is, and we like to get as much information as we can.
Interesting. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, thanks everyone for joining us today. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.